Extension of China's reform and opening up will be complete without Shenzhen's special economic zone. That's, of course, where pioneering policies got a test trial before being launched right across the country. Now we continue our series on 3 decades of reform and opening up, and Dongwei tells us the tale of how a tiny fishing village transformed itself into the bustling Shenzhen that we know today.
It's a typical Saturday afternoon at Futian Port in Shenzhen, with crowds of people arriving from Hong Kong. For many of these people, commuting between the two cities is part of their daily lives. Wang Zhuofeng is one of them. He's local to Shenzhen but works in Hong Kong, and he heads for home on the mainland every weekend. A sea of water may lie between home and work, but for him, there's little difference between the two.
Well, back in 10 years, probably the difference is a lot bigger. At that time, the environment, the facilities have a great difference. But now the gap is getting closer and closer. You can see a lot of Hong Kong people and travel to Shenzhen, and a lot of Shenzhen citizens working in Hong Kong, and they travel back and forth.
For this young man, it is unthinkable that just 30 years ago, Shenzhen was just a tiny fishing village in southern Guangdong province. Perched on Shenzhen's relatively gloomy coastline, people could stare in envy at the blaze of lights in Hong Kong and the opposite shore.
I mean, if you go to Shenzhen now, it's amazing. It was just a very sleepy fishing village with, some construction going on, but very few people, very little sign of what it could become.
But things started to change when Shenzhen was picked as China's first export-oriented special economic zone. On June 8, 1979, a single blast to clear the ground kicked off building at China's first industrial development zone. The Shekou Industrial Zone was just the prelude to subsequently frantic development in Shenzhen. Accompanying the burst in construction was reforms in areas like recruitment and housing, and to keep people focused on the task, slogans were an easy tool. From that period, most will remember the famous "Time is money, efficiency is life."
我觉得这句口号呢，对我们当时来的这批人来讲啊，感觉非常的新颖，非常的新颖。因为大家知道，在改革开放之前呢，中国人是忌谈钱的。就是谈钱色变，就是大家都觉得很不好意思谈钱。那大家知道，在计划经济体制的那个年代，效率根本谈不上。那么到蛇口以后呢，在这方面，我们觉得对我们的观念上的冲击非常的大。
One novel concept then was for Shekou Industrial Zone to work together with overseas companies. This meant Shekou benefiting from much-needed facilities and more chances for shared investment. This photo was taken in 1979 when the construction of Shekou Industrial Zone started off with a blast. It is just this huge bang that has sounded clarion for China's reform and open up. Since then, the remarkable development speed of Shenzhen has attracted worldwide attention, and once the door opened, both people and money from the outside world began to come in. Many Chinese people are familiar with this variety show, which first aired on China Central Television in 1990, the 正大综艺 or the Chata Hour. The name actually comes from a Thai company, the Jarang Popang Group, but known in China as the Chata Group. And just as China was opening its doors to the outside world, the Thai group teamed up with US-based Conti Group to set up a joint venture in Shenzhen, Conti Chata Group. The group focused on producing animal feed in the first venture of its kind on the Chinese mainland. Chata Group made its name as the first multinational enterprise to invest in the Chinese market.
国家也很鼓励外来投资，为了能带进技术啊，能带进这个管理的现代化啊，等等等等。那么我们得到国家的很大力的支持，在国家的各部门各方面都得到很大力的支持。
Support from the Chinese government gave the group confidence to further tap into special economic zones in Zhuhai and Shantou in 1982, where it scored considerable success, and since gone even further.
那么正大集团后来不止在这个饲料的领域，还做我们这个摩托车机动的领域，还有最后做到这个流通领域，好像这个莲花超级市场。
By taking steps to attract overseas investment, Shenzhen was able to speed up its development. Just 4 years after setting up its special economic zone, the city's gross output value for industry and agriculture stood at 12 times that from figures in 1978. And reflecting the success story was a popular TV series in the early 1990s called The Migrant Girls. It told the story of 6 girls traveling all the way from the countryside to seek their fortunes in Guangdong. It seems Chinese people no longer thought it inappropriate to discuss the urge to find fame and fortune in the city. Rome may not have been built in a day, but the rise of Shenzhen certainly seemed an overnight phenomenon. Since 1979, Shenzhen has maintained an annual growth rate of 27%. It also cultivated a bunch of big names like China Merchants Bank and Ping An Insurance, and these are now looking to expand overseas.
I think we're seeing a transition from strict trade to actual Chinese investment overseas. I think this is a natural consequence.
Shenzhen's success gave a further push to efforts to continue reforming and opening up. China's economic zones have experimented with different models and moved from coastal to inland cities. Hard to believe that it all started from one tiny fishing village in South China. It has been nearly 30 years since China created its first special economic zone here in Shenzhen. It was a pilot project of reform and opening up. What's special about these economic zones is not the preferential policies they enjoy, but their role as pioneers. Without them, the reform and opening up of the country would not have reached such depth and scope. And as China speeds along this road, more of these pioneers are needed to keep reform and opening up moving. This is Deng Wei reporting for Biz China 360 here in Shenzhen.
Well, 3 decades of reforms in China have also had an enormous impact on the country's vast rural areas. Join us at the same time tomorrow and we'll show you how life has changed dramatically in a small fishing village in central Henan province. Well, with that, we come to the end of this edition of Biz China, but we'll be back again at 2 p.m. Beijing time. I'll also be back at the top of the hour with a full hour of news. I'm James Chow from all of us here. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.